Hello, my name is Andrea Patton with A. Patton Fine Art in New Braunfels, Texas. Today I'm going to teach you some wet in wet techniques and some wet in dry techniques. We're going to paint this cute little bird who I call the Wally wash bird, because in the end you're going to have a beautiful wash. So, to get started, I drew out Wally Washbird on some 140-pound cold press paper, and I used a Sharpie. This is an ultrafine point, and this works really well because you can pre-draw it and you can add your watercolor right on top of the ink and it won't run. So I really like the little old Sharpies. I'm using some nice tape. It's called TSS Art tape, and it's from Amazon, and it works really well for me. And I tape down my paper onto a hardboard tempered panel from Home Depot. So it lasts a long time and works really well. My paintbrushes today for the wet in wet, I'm using a Master's Touch 14 round, and I have a Transom number 8. And I got a pack of these Transoms from Amazon, and they work really well. They have a nice point and they really hold their shape. So we're going to start with the three primary colors. I've got the red, the yellow, and the blue. So a little bit about mixing. The red and the yellow will make these beautiful orange colors. The red and the blue will make some beautiful purple shades, and the blue and the yellow will make some nice green shades. So it's really important to understand the color wheel. All right, let's get started. All right, I'm really going to get a lot of water on my paintbrush. I'm really going to soak it up and carefully paint inside the lines. And I think for this one, I'm going to go around the eye so that we can leave that eye white. But everything else I'm going to really wet. It's better to get it more wet than not enough water. And I've really got some nice puddles there, which is fine because now I have time to mix up my colors. So I'm going to take a little bit of red pigment, add a little bit of water until I get a creamy consistency. So it's creamy. That's a nice creamy consistency. Clean my brush as well as I can. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of this yellow. So you like to mix up your puddles before you get started or while you have a very, very wet piece of art that you're getting started on. All right, so that needs a little bit of water. Yeah, that's looking pretty creamy. All right, now I'm looking at my wet and wet here, and it looks to me, kind of move it around. That's what I like about boards. And you can see there's still puddles, but I'm ready to paint. So I'm going to dab off my brush so it's lightly damp, and I'm going to pick up just a little bit of this water because I'd rather not have puddles because the paint is going to float in the puddles. I don't want it floating in the water. All right, you really have to look at it and see, are the puddles gone? Okay, you have a really nice shiny surface. You don't want it too wet, you don't want it too dry. So I'm gonna go in with the red, the nice creamy red, and I'm using red and yellow because those two mix together to make a nice orange. All right, that is moving along really nicely. Careful around the edges. And since I didn't put any water inside of the eyeball, it's not going to follow the water because it's dry in there, if that makes sense. The paint follows the water. All right, nice, and I'm gonna go right over the wing since I got it all wet. Now, quickly go in, clean your brush, get your yellow. You need to move fairly quickly because you don't want the paper to start drying. Once it starts drying, it's not going to mix well together. So I'm gonna go right into this red. If it's still a little bit too wet, you can dab your paintbrush onto your paper towel and pick some of that water up to make it not quite too puddly, too wet. So see how that's blending really nice together into a nice orange. And while it is wet like this, you can, if you want, add a little bit of another color, put some red, little dots in there, and see how it's moving? That means there's enough water on the paper. I'm gonna carefully go around his eye right here. If you want, you could add a little bit more red, a little bit darker, but you want to do it while it is wet, nice and wet, so you have a nice smooth wash. Okay, and then you need to know when to stop, and I am going to stop right there, and I'm going to show you a wet, wet into dry. And I use the same paintbrush. I'll use this one for the beak. All right, so now I'm gonna mix up some blue down here. A nice creamy blue. And I'm gonna tell you about the bead. The bead is really important when you're doing wet into dry. All right, so that's creamy, but I want to add a little bit more water. All right. All right, I'm really loading up my paintbrush. It's very loaded up. So I'm going to go across the bottom here. And do you see the little bead? You want to have a bead so that you can add water below that and it's wet enough to do so. And I'll show you what I mean. All right, so I got a little bead, I got a bead or a little puddle in there. In this case, a puddle is good. All right, nice and wet. I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to just tap it off. I just tapped it. I don't have it dripping wet. And I'm going to go underneath the blue that I just put. It's a little bit too wet, so I can soak up the water with my damp paintbrush after tapping it on the paper towel. But do you see how it bleeds down really nice? That's what you want. it's really wet, so you can go in and add another color. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow, which is going to turn into a green. Yellow and blue make green, and I'm dabbing my paper towel continuously because sometimes it looks a little bit too wet. I don't want it too wet because then you're going to get blooms or cauliflowers, and that means you have too much water mixed in. Add some more yellow, and that's a really nice transition there. And if you want, you can hold up your panel and let it run down. And while it's wet, you can even add a little bit more paint. Touch it down there if you want. As long as you have enough water, the paint is going to react really nice. You don't like that, you just kind of rub it out. All right, now I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to do a thing with that. And I'm going to take my smaller brush now, my number 8, and I'm going to grab some yellow and go straight onto the beak, wet into the dry. And I'm just barely going to touch it. And you see the red was still a little bit wet here on this side, so it's going to run in to the beak, which I don't mind at all. I like it. I like that effect. And I think I'm going to add a tiny bit of red under the top part of the beak to make it turn into an orange. Silly Wally Washbird. You can call him Willy Wash, you can call him Wally Wash. You can name him whatever you want. All right, now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a splatter into the background. So I'm thinking what I want to do is I'm going to take the blue and the red, mix them together, and you make purple. More blue, darker purple. More red, more of a reddish purple. All right, I think that looks just beautiful. Now, you want it wet enough, again, creamy's good. And you can use the smaller brush or the larger brush, but you hold one brush or something like this, you know, it can be a stick, can be whatever you want, and splatter. You can splatter only on the top, you can splatter down below. If it's still wet, it's going to kind of blend together on the bird. See how it's still wet back there? I like that. I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom. And I think I'm going to go into the blue. So you can put several different colors. All right, I'll put a little bit of blue. Make sure it's creamy enough, you have enough water in there. And why not put some yellow? I am going to put some yellow on there. I just think that adds a little bit of fun to the whole painting. Got some texture. And there he is. Now, I want to tell you about the tape. Do not remove the tape until it is completely dry, because if you remove the paint, it's going to peel up the paper. So very important, wait 30 minutes, go do the laundry, make your husband or whoever breakfast, make yourself breakfast, and let this completely dry. And then you can peel it off. So it's definitely still wet. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you.